What up, Laker Nation? Here with your boy Kareem. I'm gonna break down options, or better yet, like tiers of players of caliber players who can win a championship. I'm gonna say like how you have three options. The first option, but the best player of the team, the second best player, the third best player. I'm gonna break it down like that. To me, it's only like maybe four best players that I think could be the number one option on the team, to be the best player on that team to win a championship. And that's LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard. And I'm gonna say Luka, but I'm gonna put Luka on a side somewhere. I can't say him yet because I ain't see enough, but he has that type of game. He fearless. He can make a free throw. He can shoot the three. He can also get his teammates involved, and he can also hit clutch shots, and he got the capability to step up in moments. Those like situations where you're the number one option, and we all know I shouldn't have to. I don't need to break down LeBron, AD. I mean LeBron, Kevin Durant, and Kawhi Leonard. They definite to me clear number one options on the team. So, meaning they the best player. Now I'm gonna break down like tier two. Tier two, the second best player on the team that can win a championship team if they your second best player. But it gets kind of tricky because if you compare two players together, they can win. That's why sometimes it's kind of tricky. But to me, you only have three clear cut guys who is like bona fide number one option on the championship team. And second options, I think you can start getting to a guy like Jimmy Butler. So the reason why you can't say, okay, he the best player on the team, because he stepped up more like in the playoff time. But in the regular season, what he do in the regular season, you would need somebody a little bit more productive than him in the regular season to carry it on. But he kind of steps up as like a number one option in the playoff. But I'm still got to put him in like he could definitely lead your team as the second best player on the team. I think Jimmy Butler. I think Joel Embiid, Kyrie Irving, Damian Lillard. I think those guys definitely fall easily, and Giannis could fall easily into the second tier. The third tier, I think guys like um, Jaylen Brown, Chris Middleton. I say Brandon Ingram, even though he ain't playing the playoff yet, but he could. I could easily see him the third best player on the championship team. Uh, who else I could say is more like a third best player on the team? Um, C.J. McCollum. Players like that. See, it's a difference when you break them down. Like Paul George, I think he's a third option because he have too many mislaps in the playoff to be a second option. Second option. Now I think Pascal is like kind of trending toward a third option, and I think Jason Tatum trending towards like a second option. Uh, second best player on the team. I think Jason Tatum he's trending towards that way. Um, it's a difference when you build a team. You have to build a team where you have the two players. You have to have that best player. Then you have to have that bona fide number two to win. See, that's why I think. See, we're helping the Clippers. Clippers have a deep roster, but Paul George is now he don't hold up his end as a second option. So let's step back. Like Giannis considered the first, and they got Chris Middleton as the second best option. But Giannis type of game, and when it comes to playoffs where they sag in, he can't really create his own shot, and he can't really hit a outside shot. So now he kind of fall, instead of him being a number one, the best player on the team, which he's the best player throughout the regular season, he had to fall back to number two. Chris Middleton really more of a third best player in the championship team. See, that's where Milwaukee they bump heads at. Now, if you could put together like a Giannis with a Lillard or with a Kyrie, it could change things that fast. And that's the thing about building teams. You have to build teams in the right way. These GMs make a lot of mistakes. They Some GMs they overpay a lot of players, then they get stuck. They don't put the right pieces together. You have to be clear who's your best player, who's your second best player, third best player. It has to be clear. And I think your third best player, you don't want your third best player to be a guy who really thinks they're number two and feel they should get 20 shots. That's when you're going to run into those problems there. That's like Chris Bosh was the number one player his whole career. He had to drop not to number two. He didn't even ease his weight in. He had to fall all the way down to three. Same thing with Kevin Love. You have to kind of ease that weight, or a guy had to have that type of mentality where he don't have to be that. Like for instance, a John Wall. John Wall could easily be like a number three because he don't care for. He's not a guy that want to shoot 20 shots a game. So he played the point. So he gonna have the ball in his hand. So if he your third best player, you golden. A guy like I think C.J. McCollum. I think his personality. I think he could fall in that role excellent to be a third best player on a team. See, it had to be a certain mentality. Certain guys I think could possibly struggle in that third option. And see, like for instance, like you have like Paul George. He will struggle being like a third option. That's why Melo struggled as a third option a few years ago when he was with OKC. See, that's the thing. And Russ, that's where he always had that problem. Like Russ not consistent enough. He make a lot of mistakes. So that's why he struggled in his role. And Harden, to me, is a second option because he don't have it what it takes to take that team over the hump and win that championship. Harden is more like the second best player on the team. See, he'd be the best player. Him and Giannis is similar. They will be the best player on the team throughout the whole playoffs. Whole regular season. But playoff time, you got to have a player who can outperform them guys there. Steph Curry is more of a jump shooter. Klay Thompson, that's why he didn't have a problem falling to the number three slot when KD was there because his type of game. Anthony Davis, I think, is clearly a number two. He's not a number one option because he don't have that type of game and he don't have that type of demeanor and that type of leadership. See, it's a breakdown of these players, and sometimes these players have the problem because they think that they number one, they should be getting these shots, and sometimes things change. Like Jimmy Butler type player. Let's say Jimmy Butler playing with Giannis. Giannis would be all world all in the regular season, but playoff time, the roles have to switch. That's the same thing happened in Philadelphia. Joel Embiid was that guy, but playoff time, Jimmy Butler became that guy, and Joel Embiid had to take the step back and be that second option. So you could win when you have two guys like a Embiid and Jimmy Butler, but it's hard to win like Dame and CJ, Giannis and Middleton. See that's where it gets tricky at. Unless you like the Clippers and have like a bunch of other players who can score, like a guy like Lou Williams who can score when your second option is struggling. Unless you have that type of team like that. See that's the key right there. So I just want to touch on that real quick on the type of players, they roles and where it should be from there. I need you to hit the like button, subscribe. Peace out.